Ladies, gentlemen, and war toasters, I have one thing to say before this video begins. It does not count as copying Dawko if I make this video months after his, okay? Just don't even say anything about it. This is a completely original idea, and I never steal other people's ideas, okay? Let's get into the video. So, I've been meaning for a while to do a video where I talk about the stories in Fazbear Frights, because those books are kind of what I'm known for on this channel, the audiobooks specifically, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about them because they're really interesting, and I think I can do it better than Dawko did. Not that I'm copying Dawko, no, but I do think that I have some interesting thoughts. So for this series, I'm going to quickly try to catch up to where we're at with the series, which is book 5, which is coming out in a month, and I'm going to try and give my thoughts on these books. So with that being said, let's start the video. So the first story in Fazbear Frights Into the Pit is obviously Into the Pit, the first story. And just a quick summary for those of you, I won't take too long with it, because I do have an audiobook on my second channel with it's the entire book. So I'm not going to go too in-depth about that, but here's a little summary about how the story goes. So there's this kid named Oswald, and he is really bummed out because his town sucks, nothing ever happens. And so, what he does is he goes every day to the library and to Jeff's Pizza, which is a very old pizzeria on one side of town, and he finds himself suspiciously drawing pictures of the 3 main animatronics, obviously Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, and he doesn't know why. He just finds himself doing it, which he's never seen these animatronics before, so it's pretty weird. But one day, when he goes to Jeff's Pizza, he decides he's going to play a prank on his dad, and he's going to go into the ball pit, the old moldy ball pit in the pizzeria, and he's going to just kind of play a prank on him, make his dad wonder where he is. And the ball pit is it's a time-traveling ball pit. It is a time-traveling ball pit. I'm done. Okay, but in all seriousness, it's really interesting to finally get to see someone from our time actually go to one of these pizzerias when they're open. This is the first time that we've had that happen. So Oswald goes there, and the weird thing is, he sees Spring Bonnie, Yellow Bonnie, the one who becomes Springtrap, which is weird, because no one else seems to notice him. No one else acknowledges him. Everyone just kind of either ignores him or they don't see him, which I'll get to later. Only Oswald sees him. And he tries to ignore him as well, so I don't know, maybe everyone's just ignoring him, or maybe they can't see him at all, which I'll get to later. And so one day when he goes back into the ball pit, he meets some new friends there, they play games, it's all great. One day though, when he comes there, there's screaming, there's parents running, taking their kids away, and he follows Spring Bonnie into a back room where he finds children's bodies. And then he obviously runs away because this bunny is a little bit creepy, just a little bit. It kind of makes sense that he wanted to run away from someone who just murdered children. But yeah, he runs away out of the ball pit, and it looks like he's safe. His dad comes there, and he's like, "Oh, where were you?" And then Spring Bonnie jumps out of the pit, pulls his dad under, and this is the weird part. Now, I'm sure you guys have all heard the story so far. That's why I'm trying to keep this summary brief, so I'm sure it won't be a huge plot twist to most of you. That being said, it's still really weird. I mean, Spring Bonnie, okay, starts pretending to be Oswald's dad. He starts impersonating him. He knows his dad's every habit. He knows where their house is because he drives Oswald home. He knows where the school is because he drives Oswald to school. It's very advanced. And then everyone else sees it as Oswald's dad as well. So clearly, this can't just be some sort of normal animatronic. No animatronic, I don't care how sci-fi this series is, no animatronic is going to be that advanced. And the main question I have, and now we're gonna kind of get into the theories and stuff, long story short, Oswald and the rabbit fight. Oswald drags his dad out of the pit. The rabbit hangs itself on the ropes of the ball pit. happy, fun ending, the end. But the weird thing is that I can never really, because I'm the type of person who likes to have an answer for things, right? I'm okay with a cliffhanger, as long as it's okay, as long as it's possible to figure out what that cliffhanger means. But to this day, we have no idea what happens to, like, what Spring Bonnie is. I don't think it's normal animatronic, and I don't think it's just William Afton in a suit, because then you'd think he would actually talk. But the weird thing is, Spring Bonnie never talks in this book. Not once. Not a single time.
Not once! Not one time!
So, what is he? Well, okay, and now we're going to delve into a bit more of spoiler territory, because we're going to kind of reference some of the older, or newer books. And the one advantage I have over DAWKO, who I'm not copying, by the way, is we have some of the later books now. And so, whereas he only had the first book when he was making his video, I have a whole bunch of books coming after this that kind of might help us shed some light onto what exactly this thing is. So, my theory, right, is that this Spring Bonnie isn't real. Okay, I mean, obviously it is real in a sense, because Oswald isn't just imagining it, I don't think, because his dad sees it too when it hangs itself. But the only two people we know who can see it are Oswald and his dad, people who are directly involved in what this thing is doing. I don't think it's using some sort of illusion disc, I don't think that, that's what I used to think. But I think it's definitely more likely, because, okay, in Book 3, 1:35 a.m., it's revealed that there's this substance called agony. Whether it's similar or the same thing as Remnant, we don't know. But there's this thing called agony, and it is basically kind of the theory that emotions can bring objects to life. Okay, and emotions can... It's basically the explanation for haunted objects, as one of the characters says. Agony is how things get haunted. Really strong, powerful emotions, like sadness or anger, can affect objects around them and almost make them alive. Or they can create entirely new illusions as well, okay? And I think that's what's happening here. I don't think that the ball pit is just some sort of sci-fi thing. I think it's a bit more paranormal, haunted. Maybe one of the murders that took place at Freddy's happened in the ball pit. The ball pit obviously is going to be filled up with agony after that. Maybe that will maybe that caused the ball pit to be haunted, to be possessed, something like that. We don't really understand it too much yet, but we're getting to. And so the ball pit is haunted. And so Oswald doesn't, maybe, because what I'm thinking is he probably doesn't really go back in time. It's probably, some form of illusion. Maybe he does go back in time, but I think either it's an illusion that he's kind of imagining in his head, and somehow one part of the illusion, Spring Bonnie, comes into real life, or he is going back in time, and that's just... And the agony is just a lot more powerful than we think. I mean, if agony is powerful enough to send someone back in time, we might have a couple more things to talk about. Just saying. So, either way, Spring Bonnie somehow escapes. Whether he escapes from back in time or from an illusion in Oswald's head, he escapes. And he's not the normal Spring Bonnie either. He's a different entity of some sort. We don't know what. I don't think we ever will. But he's definitely not something that we've seen before. He's not a robot. He's not a guy in a suit. Something a little more unexplainable. Which is not good, because I want to explain it. I want to have some sort of explanation. That's the type of person I am. I don't know. Either way, in the end, it's killed. And it's very stressed in this story that it's alive. Okay, it's talked about a lot, how the eyes feel squishy when Oswald, what was it, punches it in the eye or something? I don't know. The eyes feel squishy. It hangs itself. I mean, this thing, whether it's alive or not, it's natural. It's definitely not something mechanical. Again, I don't think we'll ever know what it is. The other thing that I want to talk about for this story is Oswald drawing these characters. You know, I saw one of MadPat's theories on these books, and as he mentions, kids are being drawn to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They feel like they have to go there. For some reason, there's something drawing them there. We don't know what it is. It's not the Stitch Wraith. I don't think it's been revealed what the Stitch Wraith is, and I don't think that it has the power to do that. And I don't know why it would want to in the first place, but something is drawing kids here, and something is also drawing Oswald to draw these robots for some reason. Maybe it'll be explained later, but it's something definitely not to forget, because I think it'll come in handy later. As for whether this story is canon, I think we both know what I'm gonna say about that. I don't think this story is canon in the slightest. Into the Pit, the first story, I think we can basically write it off as it is probably a part of the Stitch Wraith story, but I don't think it's canon to the games. I don't think it's canon to the books. I think it's its own thing. Overall, I would definitely rate this story, I think at least a 9 or 10 out of 10. 9.5, maybe. It's really good. Still one of my favorites so far. Alright, moving on to the second story, To Be Beautiful. That was like 12 minutes. As you can see, we're trying to go through this a little bit quicker than DAWKO did because I'm trying to make the summary a lot shorter and mostly focus on the theories. So To Be Beautiful, quick summary, it's about a girl named Sarah. She is absolutely obsessed with looking beautiful. Like, more so than most people. It's a little bit weird how she's very obsessed with this, to the point where it almost gets annoying, and at the end of the story, sure, you feel bad for her, but she kind of had it coming because she's been very, very obsessed. And, you know, in the end, it looked like maybe things were going to turn around for her. Actually, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So what happens? Obviously, she's obsessed with this stuff. She finds she's walking past the junkyard on her way home from school, right? And she sees this robot arm just kind of hanging out of a car, what was it, a car trunk? Yeah. And so she tries to grab it out. It's kind of stuck, but she gets it out. And the weird thing that we're going to touch on later is that it's Circus Baby. I mean, even in the cut illustrations from the book, it's definitely supposed to look like Circus Baby. But it's a more thin, very cursed version, in my opinion. I'll put the illustration up on screen here. There it is. What-ah! There it is. It's right there. And so, it's really weird because it's Circus Baby, but it's not. But we'll touch on that a little bit later because I have a very interesting theory on who this character is. And so, Eleanor says that she'll grant Sarah a wish, which again makes it seem like this is something more magical, something less science and animatronics and more paranormal. But that might not be the case, and I'll get to that as well later. And so every day from then on, she makes Sarah a little bit more beautiful. It's never explained until the very end how this happens. But every day she gets a little more beautiful, and she gets more attention at school. More people are noticing her, until at the very end of the story, when the necklace that Eleanor told her to put on and never take off, ever, obviously falls off, and turns out, this whole time, Sarah was a robot. She has been slowly her limbs have been sawed off, and robotic versions have been put on instead of her normal limbs. So, in the end, what's weird is that the necklace somehow, not only does it cut off the illusion, and now you can see what she actually is underneath the illusion, but it also seems to break her apart. I'm not sure why that is, but we'll get to that again later. And so the story ends with Sarah dying. It's very sad, but again, she kind of had it coming. She was very, very obsessed, and people were trying to help her the whole time, and she was just only focusing on this one thing. Obviously, that doesn't mean she should have died, but, you know, it's kind of... I don't feel as bad for her as I would have for someone else. Let's just say that. And so, again, the weird thing is, this version of Circus Baby, Eleanor, who is she? Like, she's not Circus Baby, but she is Circus Baby, if you know what I'm saying. It's a different version, it's a different variant, it's a clone, some sort of... It's never quite explained. My personal theory, that I don't think I've heard anyone else talk about, is that Eleanor was made to be a surgical robot. Now, obviously, I don't really have any proof for this, other than what she does to Sarah, but it seems like she was made to be a surgical robot. And again, no proof for that. I just think it would be a fun concept. Fazbear Entertainment, you know, making robots to help people, and so making robots that they will maybe repair limbs, replace organs with prosthetic versions. Maybe one of them, because, again, delving into some more spoilers, in the 4th book, Step Closer, it's revealed that, spoiler alert, I know you guys are going to call me out for spoilers, so I'm saying spoiler alert, this is your fault. In book 4, it's revealed that there's 2 kids who possess the Stitch Wraith. One of them used to possess Fetch, and the other one, we don't really know. It seems like he was just maybe possessing the endoskeleton, the mask that's on the Stitch Wraith, something like that. And the kid who was possessing Fetch, apparently, it says that he infected objects with dark energy, or something along those lines. Here, let me get the book. So yeah, Step Closer. At the very end, it says that Andrew... Let me see. If there's a 3rd person possessing the Stitch Wraith with them, right? And so they're saying, what if there's a 3rd person here with us? Because it seems like a 3rd person got the Stitch Wraith to attack someone. It's very weird, and I'll get to that in our 4th video on this. And that leads them to thinking, what if... Yeah, okay, here we go. So Andrew, one of the kids, says, I infected them, I remember now. And Jake says, the other kid says, what? I infected everything I threw my anger at. Okay, so everything you infected could hurt people. Innocent people. So, Andrew infected people with his anger. That seems like they're talking about agony again. Because again, agony is known to be kind of what caused the Stitch Wraith. It seems like one of these kids is infecting objects with his agony. Maybe that could be ball pits. Maybe that could be a surgical robot. Who knows? Maybe it could be an animatronic dog. And so what I'm thinking is... And again, like, this is just a wild theory. Andrew possibly infected Eleanor, a robot meant to perform simple surgeries, with agony. She went crazy, she started hacking off people's limbs, she was malfunctioning, she wasn't safe, so they threw her into a junkyard because, you know, she's not safe for hospitals anymore. And now, she still is programmed to help people to perform surgeries, but she's malicious now. She has a bit more of an evil intent behind it. And so when Sarah rescues her and turns her on, literally, not metaphorically, Sarah, or Eleanor, starts to perform another surgery. Okay, when I say it like that, it sounds absolutely insane, but still, it's an interesting theory, and I don't know who else Eleanor could be. Is she just Circus Baby from this timeline? Maybe she was designed a little bit different in this timeline? I mean, in the Silver Eyes trilogy, she was also a lot slimmer, but she was still humanoid. This one has like a giraffe neck. It's the weirdest thing. So, I don't know, it's just an idea. It's just an idea I had, an interesting theory. What I'm also wondering is why the necklace... I'm basically just pointing out plot holes here, but why the necklace, when it is, when it comes off, it not only kills the illusion, it basically instantly, Sarah starts falling apart, and she only starts falling apart when the necklace comes off. So obviously I think the necklace has like an illusion disc inside of it that is keeping the illusion intact, but somehow it's also keeping her together, and as soon as it comes off, she starts falling apart. I don't know how that works. maybe I'm looking too much into this, but it's an interesting thing to talk about. I rate To Be Beautiful a 4 out of 10. There's too much filler. Actually, we'll move it up to 5, maybe 5.5, because the ending is really good, but there's a lot of filler, and I don't like that. Okay, so let's move on to the third story, and then we'll go to the Stitch Wraith. This one's a lot more simple. It's about a girl. Again, she's kind of unlikable. She hates everyone. She hates her grandpa. She hates the people at her school. Everyone bullies her, so it's kind of understandable. But she hates everyone. And, you know, the whole story is basically us cutting between her in just going about her life and hating everyone, and her being trapped inside of a certain bear. And so a lot of the story, because of this, is filler, like in To Be Beautiful. It's just kind of... Okay. A lot of the story is basically Sarah going about her... Or not Sarah, Millie going about her life, and she's just kind of hating everyone. And then, at the very end, we find out which bear she's inside. It's Funtime Freddy, which you can kind of tell because he has a very distinct personality. A lot of people have been saying that Funtime Freddy in this story is not at all like Funtime Freddy in the games. I disagree. I think he matches the personality very well. And so she gets stuck in Funtime Freddy, and he gives her choices on how to die. Which a lot of people have been saying that's dark, and it is. It's very dark. But it's treated very jokingly. I mean, Funtime Freddy just laughs about it the whole time. There's not much actual... It doesn't feel like there's many actual stakes. At least for me. Maybe for someone else it's different. But for me, it feels like there's just not that many actual stakes behind it. So this also means there's not much lore here. It could probably fit into the game lore and the book lore. I mean, actually, because in the game lore, Funtime Freddy becomes Molten Freddy, so there's no point where he could have gone into Millie's grandfather's garage, which is where she found him. I don't think there's any point where he would have been, where there's a point where he could have been in her grandfather's garage, especially for multiple years. So it doesn't really fit into the game's lore. And in the book's lore, I'm pretty sure I remember Funtime Freddy got basically destroyed by some sort of theme park ride. Yeah, he was absolutely destroyed by it. So I don't find it very likely that he could have survived in that timeline either. So again, this is probably not canon either, which is kind of a bummer, but it's interesting. Other than that, there's really not that much to talk about for this story. It's very, very cut and dry. There's not much interesting stuff to talk about here. I'd give it like 5 out of 10, because I do think it's worse than To Be Beautiful. It's just kind of like, I love Funtime Freddy. I said in the live stream that we did a couple days ago that he's like my favorite character, but in this story he's just not done very well in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know, there's not much to talk about here for Count the Ways. Let's quickly move on to the Stitch Wraith, and then I think we will be done for now. Okay, so for those of you who somehow don't know about the Stitch Wraith yet, it's weird because he's this... Okay, let's kind of go back a bit. So in this first epilogue, which is at the very end of the book, you know, there's some black pages which have this teaser for upcoming books. And so you meet Detective Larson, who's, you know, he's this classic detective. He's sitting in his office, he's chilling, he's like, you know, he's not really doing anything. He's thinking about his divorce, which is sad. Another thing to point out is that in a lot of these stories, no one in these stories so far, I don't think, has a very good life. Most of them seem to have been affected by some sort of tragedy, some sort of bad thing. So again, you can kind of see agony kind of drawing these people. So it's interesting. And so the chief comes in, and he tells them that they have a new case. He tells them that, stop me if you've heard this one, some kids in high school saw a girl turn into trash before their very eyes. Yeah, I remember the first time that I heard that, I was super pumped because I was like, oh yeah, Freddy Cinematic Universe, not Cinematic, Book Universe, something like that. I was super hyped because when I first saw this teaser, I was like, is this supposed to be here? Is this like a teaser for a different book? Like that one of the other authors of this series is doing, Ellie Cooper or something like that? When I saw that it was talking about a girl who became trash, that's a pretty good indicator that this is still connected, and I was pumped because I was really excited to see what happened to her after that, obviously. Like, did someone find her? Did her mom find her trash body in the garage? Or something? Like, imagine that. That would be terrifying. Like, what's gonna happen? I was really curious, and so I kept going. Yeah, it says that she disappeared, and at first it doesn't seem connected to the Stitch Wraith at all, but then the chief says the shrinks, so the therapists, the psychologists, basically, confirm the witnesses believe what they're saying about the trash girl, Sarah. Same goes for the people who've seen the Stitch Wraith. And then it says, Larson rolled his eyes and said in a deep voice, a strange cloaked figure roaming the streets. He returned to his normal, unremarkable voice. Did I go to sleep and wake up in a horror flick? So then he describes the Stitch Wraith, shows some photographs, because, you know, photographs can't be faked. And, yeah, it describes the Stitch Wraith. He's a shrouded figure in a cloak, cape, or hooded coat. It had a lurching walk, a complete disinterest in others unless bothered, and an obsession with dumpsters and trash bins. So again, in Step Closer, it's revealed that this Stitch Wraith is looking for objects affected by agony so that it can do what with them? Stop them? Take them apart? So it's actually not really doing... It's trying to help, but there's one... Again, it's said that it's possessed by 3 kids. One of them is perfectly fine, the other one is a bit aggressive, and then the third one we know nothing about. But we can assume that that's the one who kind of wants the Stitch Wraith to attack people. And so they're all vying for control in this monster. And so it talks about 5 withered bodies that are found, supposedly caused by the Stitch Wraith. And then it says, in the very end, that they got a lead, and they know where the mask on the Stitch Wraith came from. And then it just cuts off. The first book is done. So, I mean, at this point we know who the Stitch Wraith is. There isn't much theorizing to be done here at this point, which is again why I'm kind of kicking myself for not making this video sooner. Not because I wanted to copy DAWKO sooner, because I wanted to make this video sooner for you guys. It's really interesting. Because we know who this character is, and yet there's still so much we don't know. Where did this mask come from? We still don't know. Detective Larson is still, as far as we know, investigating this sort of thing, trying to find out what's going on here. And we still don't quite know what the Stitch Wraith is up to, what its goal is. We know it's trying to find possessed, haunted objects, but we don't know why. We don't really know where they came from. It's all kind of a mystery. And it'll kind of remain one, I think, until probably like the very end of the series, and just so you guys know, this started, there were going to be 5 books recently, when the series started. Then Scott announced 2 more, 6 and 7, Blackbird and the Breaking Wheel. And now, on my birthday, he announced 2 more, 8 and 9, so I'm losing my money and losing my mind. Alright, but that's really all there is to talk about Into the Pit. Again, I'm gonna try and catch up so I can actually make these when the book comes out. I'm just making this so that no one can tell me, oh, why didn't you do the other books? So, you know, I'm kind of trying to speed through this. That's all for now. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new here, subscribe. I recently waged war with another YouTuber, Freddy Pop Collector, so I mean, that'll be interesting. He's fine with it. He's cool. He subscribed to me now, so, you know, thanks for that if you're watching. Alright, I'm done for now. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. I'm going to try and get through these so that I can be ready when the 5th book comes out. I will see you guys very soon. Goodbye.